Do you think I'm frozen? So, so welcome to day 2. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for continuing to show up, continuing to be here for you, continuing to be here to have a better ownership and recognition of your emotions and how they can work for you. Like, they're there for a reason. They're there for information. We covered that a little bit yesterday. We'll do a quick recap here. But I like to jump right in. One, I'm not sure my phone's gonna last super long and my charger just died, so we'll see. So we're gonna try to make this super efficient. And two, I don't want you to feel like you're wasting your time. When people are talking about emotions, when people are talking about their feelings, we really don't like to dwell on it, right? Like, that's the point. So we don't like to spend a lot of time there. So as we are really starting to learn about these things and opening up our minds without judgment, because remember, part of this is about there's no judgment. They're not good or bad. They just are information. So I don't want to spend too much time where it's going to pull a bunch of strings now. If you are finding yourself pushing a bunch of buttons and going, I don't like this is really uncomfortable, please reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to work through those with you and happy to help you kind of navigate and dig through those things that may be pushing those buttons, because that's what's really going to be powerful about this. So thank you so much for coming back for day 2. If you did not catch day 1, or if you don't remember what day 1 was about, here's the snapshot. So we are talking this week about why you are so stressed out and how really understanding your emotions and how they are reflected in those feelings that show up, how that can really impact your life and how it can impact your business, how you can use them to your advantage. Everything in this life is happening for you and not to you. So if you ever get into a situation where you feel like it's happening to you, it's information. Let's find out how to redirect it. Okay? So that's the point. So we talked a little bit about emotions are natural. Emotions, we are emotional beings. That's what we're created as emotional beings. There's nothing wrong with the emotions that we have. Everybody is going to have them. It's science. Again, I feel really secure and confident in saying, you know what? Like, there's hundreds and hundreds of years of science telling us that this is the case. Emotions. What we kind of default to is saying that the feelings that our brain assigns to those emotions, that's what we call our emotions. And that's when we say we're too emotional, or we're cold, or we're distant, or gosh, they're just hardcore. They don't feel anything. It's because we haven't figured out how we want to assign that feeling. We don't know yet. We haven't allowed ourselves the time and the space to decide what that means for us. And when we have a meaning or a feeling that we don't like, to this point, we've either just shut it off, we just say, nope, we're not opening that gate, or we express all of the emotions in the same way. So yesterday we talked about anger. So here's the recap. This is how, again, feelings are the meaning that our brain assigns to an emotion. So the core emotion is anger. I like to use, Disney teaches us wonderful things. Again, yesterday I used the Disney reference of Inside Out. We're going to talk about those 5 core emotions this week. So we started with anger. So anger in itself is natural. Everyone is going to have expressions of anger. It's not just yelling. It's not just flipping your lid, blowing your top, like screaming at the top of your lungs. It's not the only way that we are expressing anger. So we went through a few examples of how you are expressing anger. This may be showing up for you in your day-to-day life, or it may be showing up specifically in your business or in your career. So if you're feeling like you're always frustrated, or maybe you are distant, maybe you're bitter about something, critical, are you super like judgy of everybody? And then aggressive. So aggressive is really going to be where you kind of naturally navigate to seeing anger as. There are some people who only express emotions one way, and it's yelling, your voice raises, whatever that may be. So if you are always frustrated, if you're always hitting the same wall over and over again, you're always letting yourself get stuck in the same spot, you're going to get frustrated. And that's coming from that space of anger. You're angry with yourself. Maybe it's because you keep hitting the same spot over and over again. You're angry because you should be able to figure it out. Again, there's all of these judgments around that. So we also talked yesterday about the thought, feeling, action. Because, again, these can flip-flop one way or the other, depending on which study you look at. You could say that the feeling comes before the thought. You could say a thought creates the feeling. Whichever way, they're going to intertwine. A feeling and a thought are going to be combined. Because if I think of something that was a good memory for me, I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel joy. If I have a thought or a memory about something that was sad, that's going to elicit a feeling. I have a memory that then creates that feeling. It assigns that meaning to that memory. And we often believe that that's just the way it is. That we're only ever going to be sad about something. We're only ever going to be mad about something. We've taught ourselves that's just the way it is. We take personality assessments. Oh, I'm just irrational. That's the way I am. But is it working for you? Is it helping you reach a goal? Is it helping you move forward? I'm here to tell you that you get to change it. This is the beauty of this week. This is your permission to decide, are your emotions, are those feelings that you assign to those emotions, are they working for you? Do they support you in your dreams and your goals and your vision for success? If they don't, let's change it. Because you can retrain your brain. You can reassign that meaning. So there's no sense, it's not doing you any favors to stay stuck in saying that I'm just always gonna get mad about that. I can't believe, like, I'm never gonna like them. I'm never gonna agree with them. I just don't wanna do it. So you get to decide. So yesterday I gave you some homework. So if you were on yesterday, and if you were catching this live, give me a hashtag live. If you are gonna catch the replay, give me a hashtag replay so I know who all is checking in and really getting value from this. So in the end, I just hope that this gives you one more stepping stone to really be able to impact your life, impact your business, your career, however you are wanting to use this information, but hopefully it is beneficial for you. So, but yesterday I gave you some homework to really look at these 5 examples of anger and how they are showing up for you. What is the trigger? What's the button? Everybody gets these buttons. So what's the button for frustration? Where do you get most frustrated? Is it at home with your kids? Is it at home with your significant other? Is it in a work environment? Is it with yourself in your business? However that may be showing up for you, look and see what the biggest culprit is. Find out what's getting you the most frustrated. Because if you get frustrated over the same thing, it's causing you to take an action or an inaction. So I often find myself getting stuck on something and then I just don't do it. So how many people get frustrated with themselves because they don't clean the house? So then you just continue to sit and feel sorry for yourself or get really angry with yourself or say that you're lazy. All of those things build up. It's not doing you any favors, is it? It's not cleaning your house. And the same thing could be said for your business. So Stephanie said, getting overwhelmed with so much to do and not enough time. I'm always home, so at home would be it. Okay, so you work from home, right? So everything is at home for you. So I would encourage you to really start narrowing those things down is it work tasks that are overwhelming you, or is it home tasks? Because to your point, when we're in the same environment, we always just like to lump everything together. Life is overwhelming, right? When we start narrowing our focus on what is overwhelming, it may just be one or two big things that are really draining for us. So if you find that cleaning the bathrooms is the most frustrating thing for you, if it's home tasks, keeping things together, what's the things that you don't mind doing? Maybe we start with the things that we don't mind doing, but we don't know until we really start evaluating it and really start looking at it. So I don't want to dig into this too much today. If you want some more information on the anger, then I encourage you to go back and check out day 1. It is in the group, so you can catch the replay of that. So I want to talk today about fear. So, who ever has a fear of anything? I remember I've always told people that I'm very consequence driven. I'm always very, careful. I was always mom in college because I was always making sure everybody was safe and everybody was not doing anything stupid. If people wanted to jump off a roof, I would make sure and tell them to stop because I was afraid of what would happen. I was afraid of the outcome. And fear, again, is that core emotion. It's going to show up for us in a lot of different ways. So again, I'm going to talk about, I've got 5 that are going to show up for you, okay? Where did I put my notes? Okay. Whoever gets anxious about anything. And anxiety, again, is you're going to feel a physical response when you get anxious. Like whose heart races a little bit or who gets a little jittery. You get a little anxious about things. Here's another big one. Fear of rejection. How common is that? I know I've got a few entrepreneurs on here watching. Who has ever stopped themselves from taking action in their business because of fear of rejection? Because of fear of somebody saying no? I will raise 2 hands. If I could, I would raise both of my feet. It is a very common stopping point for me, is fear of rejection. I'm going to be honest. And that's the point, is that we all get to figure out where these come up and we all get to take action on it. So I am in here with you, okay? So we've got anxiety, rejection, just plain old scared. So, I don't like scary movies. I don't like haunted houses. Like when I was in middle school or high school, I would try to pretend like I liked them just because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. Never really liked them. So, scared. I wrote too big. threatened, how often do you feel like maybe you feel like your job is in jeopardy? Or maybe you feel like maybe somebody's giving you an ultimatum. Maybe you say, oh, they're threatening me. Are they? Or is it a fear of an outcome for you? So again, this is going to show up in different ways. This may be something that hits really close to home for you, or maybe you're like, no, that doesn't come up very much. So last one. You're insecure. And this is going to be a confidence. This is where I would align confidence with this of being insecure. Whether it's insecure about your abilities, whether it's insecure about showing up, oh, they're gonna judge me for my hair, or they're gonna judge me for my outfit or my glasses, or whatever it may be. You could judge me for, like, I could be insecure about the mess of my office right now. Not my biggest win right now. But guess what? You're not seeing any of it. So no need to be insecure about how my office is right now because you're not seeing it. It has nothing to do with the information I'm giving you. It has nothing to do with the message that I want you to hear. What I want you to hear is that this is all normal. If we were to rate these, just throwing this out, if you were to rate these 1 to 5, 5 is, yep, that's my number one. This is what shows up for me the most. Out of these 5 expressions of fear, which one is your biggest culprit? So we've got anxiety, rejection, scared, threatened, and insecure. Which one shows up for you? And again, my question is going to be, where? Is it in your work environment? Or is it in your home life? Maybe it's social. Stephanie said rejection. Yep, that's a very, very common one. And again, our brains, we have assigned that feeling to this idea, this story. And so then we retreat. Our brain is going to keep us safe. And we think we are in danger of that rejection. And so our brain's going to keep us safe. It's going to pull us back. It thinks it's doing us a favor of keeping us safe. And that's all stress is. Stress is a response to our body to a perceived threat. So you're here, you're in this group because you're stressed about something. And our bodies are not intended to stay in that stress. Our bodies are not intended to live in that. It's supposed to be quick. However, you are living in an extended period of stress. So your body is now using these emotions and using these feelings that we assign to them to protect you, to try to get you out of the stress, but really it's probably creating more. So Yo said anxiety in regular daily life. How exhausting. If you can't take a deep breath in your everyday life, imagine the energy you are draining every day to be anxious. And I want to use my words carefully, to feel anxious. Because we often use those terms of, oh, I'm tired, or oh, I'm anxious, I'm sad. You are feeling these things because remember, it is a meaning that we have assigned to an emotion. It is not who you are. It is a feeling you are experiencing. And when we take ourselves out of it and acknowledge it as a feeling, then it's something to work on. Then it's something to change. And how much pressure does it release from you to say, okay, because it's not all of who I am, I get a say in where it's going to show up. I want you to start practicing that conversation with yourself of, okay, because I am not anxious, I feel anxious in this moment. And then I want you to acknowledge what that moment is. What created that feeling? I want to go back to the thought, feeling, action, if you can see down here. And I want you to, if it's not even a thought, it may be an experience. Again, that experience, I'm a lefty, so my handwriting is not the best, but you get the point. So it could be a thought that triggers that feeling, and it could be an experience. So do you have someone that you encounter in your everyday life who you often feel anxious around? Do you encounter a business partner that you often feel anxious around? Or a potential client that you often feel anxious around? That gives you something to investigate. It may not be that person, but when you start investigating, when you really start giving yourself an opportunity to say, let me just learn about it. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong, but let me learn about what is pushing that button. What is pushing the anxiety button in that moment? Research, investigate. So Yo says, my job, I feel anxious, try to do it all, added responsibility. We think we're supposed to be able to do everything. Is it the fact that you feel bad saying no? You feel like you feel like you're adding more value? Do you feel like you're the only one who can handle that? What's the trigger for you to want to do it all or feel like that's your responsibility? So we can just start unpiling all of this. But I want you to feel even 2% more confident in saying, I'm going to investigate. I'm going to practice some questions. Because guess what? We don't have to have all of the answers right now. It's not going to be an overnight, I wake up and all of a sudden I'm never going to feel any of those feelings of fear. Because they're showing up every day because, again, it's natural. We are supposed to feel this way. The fear part. In a way that makes sense for us. In a way that is going to protect us from really bad things. So I would encourage to say, if your job and needing to take responsibility, what's really bad about saying no? What's really bad about not being that person? So Stephanie says, mine is more based around my significant other and a feeling of not being good enough. I am a people pleaser. It's funny, Stephanie, I used to have this group named Recovering People Pleasers, so welcome regardless. And there's a lot of layers that go into that. And there's a lot, I used to be, again, like my backstory, my husband's accident. So if you're new to the group, my husband had a farm accident 7 years ago and he lost his left leg. And I was the able-bodied adult in the house. We have 2 small kids at the time. And I always felt like I was the one that was supposed to be able to do everything. I was supposed to be able to do all of his medications, do all of his appointments, do all the laundry, do all of the house stuff. I was working full-time, And I felt like it was my responsibility to make him happy. So Stephanie, I would encourage, like, what would be good enough for you? What would be meeting that expectation for you? Start looking at that of what really is enough. Because if we don't know what enough is, we're going to continue to beat ourselves up over not being there. And yet we're shooting at a moving target that we've created, but we don't know what it is. How fair is that to you? So my own perspective, I can only go off of what I know, and whether it be myself or with my clients. But I have told people several times, and I probably even told my husband this, like, I recognize my job is not to make you happy. I want to be happy together. My job is to make me happy and to make sure I am fulfilled. And I want to do that together. But my responsibility is no longer to try to meet your idea of happiness. That's an inside job, right? Happiness is an inside job. If you're having a bad day, I will gladly be here and support you in it. I always like the image of if somebody's in a well, would you go down with them and try to get them out? Or would you pull a rope? Or would you go get help? If you jump in the well with them, you're not doing anybody any favors. Sometimes people just need you to be there to support them, to be present, to acknowledge them and their feelings. Acknowledge that they're having a bad day. So Stephanie said she doesn't know. Honestly, feel like nothing is sometimes. I invite you, again, I never want you to do something because I think it's going to be helpful, but I invite you for this week, pick one little step that you could be proud of yourself for. That you could say, I'm really proud of myself for doing that. I don't care if it's just that you did an extra load of laundry. I don't care if it's that you reached out to an extra 5 people. And maybe it's because you said you asked for help. We always put it on ourselves that we are supposed to do everything to meet everybody else's needs. And yet sometimes people want us to need them. Sometimes people want to be asked for help because then it helps them feel needed and valued. So those of us who are always people pleasing, what are we taking away from people to be able to add value to the group, to add value to the family, if we're always doing it? We want to support people, we want to help people, but yet then we are putting ourselves in these corners that say, I'm the only one that can do it, and now I don't know how to not do it. How much sense does that make? Does that land? I know I kind of just veered off in a weird direction, but that's one of those things that until we start taking teeny tiny little baby steps, again, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not all of a sudden going to wake up and say, I'm just going to ask for help whenever I need it. I'm going to tell him he's got to do 50-50 in the house and I'm enough. If you're, again, expecting that to happen, you're setting yourself up for disappointment because it took how many years to get where you're at. Now that you have more information, it does not have to take that long to get to where you want to go because you're learning more information. And at the same time, it gets to take time because you get to figure it out. Yo says, I'm always giving. I don't ask for anything. So I understand what you're saying, I think. So the other example I like to use is we get really frustrated. I hear so many women say this of, my husband sees, I heard somebody say this today actually, he sees the mess that's around the house. He sees what I need help with. Why do I have to ask him to help? Why should I have to say, can you help me with this? I never pay attention to when the grass needs mowed. I never pay attention to when wood needs split. I never pay attention to pretty much 95% of the stuff that's outside of our house. My husband focuses on those things. I know we're like super traditional structure and we're boring and whatever. But at the same time, it's not on his radar. And he's also more comfortable living in more filth than I am. So, because it's more important to me, because it's more of a focus for me, I'm noticing it more. One of the other things that I told him after his accident was we lived in the same house, going through the exact same experience. And I said, I am never going to understand your experience, and you're never going to understand mine. We lived it together. We are living it together. But we're looking through it through two different lenses. So the lens that I see the chaos of the house through is the lens of me appreciating like a calm and clean environment of where I thrive. That's who I am. His lens is path of least resistance. It's really not affecting me. I don't really care if I live out of my laundry basket. Laundry never needs to get folded. It's two different perspectives. So some of the biggest ways that we get stressed and we get anxious and we start to get insecure is we expect everyone to see things the exact same way that we do. Because why wouldn't they? It's normal. It's common sense. That's the other thing that drives me nuts is common sense is different for everybody because we are looking through our specific perspective. It is our lens. There's a ton of stuff that my husband thinks I should know or I should remember, and he has to remind me all the time. And I go, it's just not that important to me. I'm going to ask you every time. I don't know what else to tell you. I give him fair warning and he still gets a little irritated. But guess what? That's not about me. That's about him. So when we start understanding more about ourselves and our emotions, then we also get to understand everyone else's emotions. Stephanie says, my boyfriend always does that. You should just know, he says. Well, I don't. Exactly. And that doesn't make you wrong. So often we think we create this belief and then we start putting these feelings attached to those beliefs that because someone else tells us that we should do something or we should know something, that then guess what, Stephanie? Now you're believing that you're not enough because you're supposed to know those things. No. I want you to pick a new story. I invite you to pick a more supportive thought. If it's about the fact that he says you should know that, it's like I tell my husband, I married you so you take care of the like creepy crawlies and the mice and all of those things because I didn't want to do it. That's kind of our running joke, or my running joke. And again, it drives him nuts every time when I say, go check the mouse traps because I don't want to find one. That's on him. If it drives him nuts every time, I'm never going to be okay with mice. Sorry, not sorry, it's not going to happen. If it drives him that crazy, then that's up to him. He can find somebody else to do it. Or he can recognize, like, in the grand scheme of things, is it really that big of a deal? Is it worth the energetic investment to get frustrated or to be anxious or to be worried about a rejection? We all get so much energy in a day. I'm a core energy coach. I'm certified through IPEC. That's who I went through my coach training with. And we talk a lot about energy. We get so much energy in a day. There's really two types of energy. There's energy that builds you up, and there's energy that drains you. A single thought of an energetic thought that drains you, it's like a battery. You're draining your energy that much faster. If you keep that energy up, you expend that energy in a much more even and much more productive way. So when we're talking about fear and we're talking about anger, like we did yesterday, those are energies that are going to drain you. Those are energies that you get through 3 to 4 hours in a day. And if you're sitting in that energy, you are wiped. You're just done. You're not going to want to be able to do things in the end of the day. You're just like, you maybe have that like 2 p.m. crash of you're like, gosh, I need more coffee, whatever it may be, because you're draining your resources that much faster. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is hitting points for you. Stephanie says that makes so much sense. When I start getting down on myself or about other things, I don't want to do anything. Yes, because all of your energy went into those thoughts of like, well, if I reach out to them, they're just going to say no. So then I'm going to be disappointed, and then I'm not going to want to do anything. So I might as well just save my time, and I'm not going to do it. And I don't know how this is ever going to work. Anybody play that story? I have. And then we can start picking more general and supportive and productive thoughts to replace them. So a lot of times people like to say, well, just pick the opposite. You just imagine they're going to say yes. Every time they're going to say yes. Guess what? That is also not the case. People will say no. It's not always about you. Rarely is it about you. What you can say if rejection is coming up for you and you want to replace that thought of that fear of rejection, think about things like, I'm really excited to meet new people today. I'm really loving how I'm building my business. I really appreciate how I'm taking action, how I'm taking steps forward. It allows you to enjoy the process, to appreciate the steps you are taking, and it doesn't have you tied to the outcome. It doesn't have you tied to, I wanted a specific result. And it allows you to really just move your energy towards getting to know people, reaching out to new people, educating new people. When we get stuck on the outcome, that's where all of this comes in. This is where the fear sets in, and turning into anxiety and turning into fear of rejection and all of those things. So it is 40 minutes again today. I thought I was going to save you time, and I did not. So let me know what questions you have as you're kind of digesting this. But I do want you, again, if you're going to do your homework, send me an email, lindsay@lindsaydenlapcoaching.com. And let me know, give me an example where each one of these may be showing up for you. Let me know when you're feeling most anxious. And I'm going to encourage you, get specific. Start narrowing down. If your first answer is work, okay, how many days do you get anxious at work? Okay, what tasks are you doing on those days? Do they change? Okay, is it with specific people that you get most anxious? Start asking yourself those questions of where it comes up with you the most. So give me an example, of each one of these, where these are showing up for you, and what's the action that you then take. Because that's where all of the power lies. What action are you taking or not taking? Because then we get to rewrite the story. That's what I want to help you with. So if you give me your homework, send in your homework, and then I can help you rewrite those stories. Deal? I want to support you with this because these things come up a lot. This is, again, natural. It's emotions, it's fear. But we get to reassign the meaning to those things. So send me your homework. Let me know where this is coming up for you. Tomorrow we are going to talk about, where's my list? Disgust. So hopefully you tune in for day 3. Thank you for tuning in to day 2. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know how I can support you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.